Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys, and welcome to another video of Diving Trader. My name is Daniel, and today, guys, we're looking at how to find growth stocks. How to find growth stocks. It's a question I get asked quite a lot. How do you find these companies? How do you find these gems, should we say? There's a series of ways that I look at various companies. So in my portfolio, as you know, I have a lot of diversity in my portfolio. So I find my growth stocks, penny stocks, swing trade stocks, all in different ways from different sources. But my growth stocks, as well as being in a community and then people talking to each other, whether you be in a Discord group or whether you be in Facebook, whatever, and people talking about certain stocks, which is great. Uh, you can also find good growth stocks, what a lot of people aren't looking at a lot of the time. So this is an advantage. Now, this is going to be the basis, probably, or the first step, or first class, should we say, of a lot of series of videos that I'm going to be doing in the future, and I hope you find them useful. So the first one today is about growth. I'll probably do another series looking at how to find swing trades, find stocks that are good for swing trading. Have a look at companies, how to find companies that are undervalued, companies that are cheap at the moment and have a undervalued and will be X in the 3, 4, 5 years time. Swing trades. How do I find swing trading? Penny stocks. Now, penny stocks is another interesting one because penny stocks, a lot of people like to watch that on stock twits, on Reddit, and sort of jump on the wagon when everyone's done it. But you can also find there's another way to do that, so you can actually screen the volume, should we say, so you're in there before everyone else is. So that's another a little trick or another little lesson I'll do in the future. So there's the series of probably the series of lessons, should we say, that I'll be doing over the next few weeks. So make sure you subscribe, hit that like button and subscribe so you get more videos like this and you get notified when I upload them. So let's start. Let's get straight into it. Let's have a look at the FinViz. We're going straight into FinViz and we're going to go straight into screeners. Okay. Recommendation: if you don't have FinViz, you've probably and I'm telling you about it now. You're going to thank me later on, and you'll see why later on. Those that you have FinViz already, I'm happy because you'll know that this is a great, great, great tool, and I've already mentioned this as in another video as being my top, one of my best tools that I use. So, what are we using it for? The reason why I say it's good to register, guys, is because you can create a series of presets or a series of screens that you want to use, and you can save them without having to come in and to modify them every day, for example. So in my case, for example, I'm going to show you the one I've created, which is growth stocks. Okay, so let's look at growth stocks, and we can go in and let's move myself out the way for now down here so you can see properly. Now we're going to look at you can put it into categories. So we're going to look at the descriptive, fundamental, the technical, but we're going to click on all here. Okay. Now clicking on all, you can see highlighted in yellow the actual parameters that I've selected. Okay, so these are the series of parameters I've selected that will screen and will give you the companies that I am looking at as a basis to start off with. Okay, so it's not the answer, okay, but it's the screening, should we say. You're blocking out everything you don't want and you want to be focused on something that you're looking at, in this case growth stocks. So let's go straight into it. Industry. First of all, industry, stocks only. So I don't want to look at ETFs or anything else, but I could go into, if I want to certain in industry in specifically, for example, I don't know, gold, gambling, whatever. So you have the list there. So I want to look at stocks. So click on stocks. Now, what I want to be looking at is I want to have a look at the price. I want to make sure that the price at the moment is actually above the simple moving average 50-day and over the 200-day simple moving average. So I click on here and I go to the price above and price above the 200. So those are my two parameters that I use. Average true range. Average true range I select at 0.5. Now average true range basically is a volatility indicator. So it tells you how volatile a stock is. So you don't want a stock that's dead and it doesn't move. So you want some sort of movement. Okay, so some sort of movement there. So I use 0.5 over 0.5 or 0.5 or above for that. Now, volume, again, the same. It goes sort of hand in hand with the actual true range, the volatility. I want to see volume moving. I don't want to see no volume. I want to invest for my stock to be growing, right? So I want to have a look at volume that's over 100,000. Again, you can change that if you want something a little bit more. You can actually go over 300,000. Well, you can see the list there. So I use 100,000 as a basis. Now, these two components here are probably the key parts, which is what I'm looking at, which is I'm looking at EPS growth, so earnings per share growth, and I'm looking at sales growth. So what I want to do in a company is I want to see at least 30% growth quarter over quarter. Okay. You can configure that. Some people say, well, that's quite a lot, 30%. Okay, so if you don't want 30%, you can select over 25%, over 10%. Okay, so it's up to you guys. So the sales quarter and the EPS are fundamental for looking at our growth company. This is why we're looking at growth company. Now, there are a lot of other series of parameters that we can put in, which I'm not going to go into, but we can look at the PE ratio, we can look at the forward PE ratio, the PEG ratio, which I love. And that is, they are great, but we use those, for example, I would look at those for looking at undervalued stocks. Okay, so that's just a bit of a hint there. So we'll do a video on that later on. But anyway, let's have a look. So now that I've selected all these filters, it's actually, how you can see here, it's giving me 148 companies. Now I have a series of 148 companies, which is quite a lot. So what I would do now, for example, I was at first instance, you can say, right, let's have a look at the change. If you double click on change, and then you can see what's the companies that has the most change recently. Okay, which gives you an indication of where I could be getting in here, getting into something good here. So here we are, the 9 limited, for example. I don't know. Uh, Also, volume. So if you can go to volumes, you can double click on volume. I want to look at companies that have the growth company, but with volume at the moment. So it just so happens that look, Riot blockchain. Okay, so that's Riot blockchain. So that gives me my initial filter. This is sort of what I'm looking at. 148. Has 148 companies. Now I use this, and now what I would do is I would click on charts. Okay, so I would look at the charts, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking at the charts from a distance to see if anything that appeals to me. Okay, so let's have a look at Riot, for example. So let's click on that. And again, what I'm looking is something interesting here. So have a look at this. So this is, in fact, is very interesting. Now, this is a screener, guys. This does not mean, look at this. This is great. You screen it, buy it. This is the first step to moving forward to seeing what company that you could invest in. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at price change. I'm looking at price change, and I'm looking at what's going on. I know that it's above the SMA 20 and the SMA 50 and the SMA 500, which is good. And I'm seeing an increase. I saw an increase. Look, we've seen an increase here, where it's right up to 80, and it's come down halfway. So that sort of rings a bell. It's like, what's going on here? And now we're seeing a rise back. So this is a company that's steadily been growing on the year, and it could be interesting. This could be interesting. So, what do I do? Well, I start to shortlist the companies that I want to have a look at, and I will go into detail. Now, you can also, if you want to have a look to get to it quickly, we can have a look at the catalyst. So we can scroll right down, right, guys, and we can look at the recent news that's been happening in accordance to this stock. So we could click on it, and you can go in. I'm not going to go in and do this, but you can click on this, and you'll find information related to that stock that could actually start to spark off your interest. And in fact, this helps with your D&D. So I'll select that. So let's say I've selected my 10 stocks or my 8 stocks to do DD on. This is simple, and this was quite quick, right? But now your DD, your proper research will go into having a look at the company's revenue, having a look at the company itself, what it does, etc., etc. And I do a 10-step. There's a 10-step process that I use that I've already done a video on. So I'll leave the link in the description for you to have a look at that. There's a link there which goes through the 10 steps I look at for when I'm looking at a company. Okay, so that's a little bit about how to find a growth company, guys. I hope you found this really useful. If you have found this useful, please make sure that you give me a big thumbs up in the video because that really helps me. Make sure to subscribe as well, guys. That really helps the YouTube algorithm. Guys, I hope you've learned something from here. If you have and you've enjoyed the video, please put some comments down below. Let me know whether it be positive or negative. Guys, thank you for being patient. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care now.